Hello everyone and welcome to this month's method tutorial video, which will be about Absetzen or setting off. Now, I've run into a bit of an issue making this video, and that is that I covered Absetzen already quite thoroughly in a previous video, so check it out here if you haven't seen that one already. So instead of just repeating the same thing or presenting that in a new way, I'd like to specifically zoom in on one of the concepts from the video. Absetzen just really lends itself very well to fencing with eyes closed. Just as a quick recap here, fencing with eyes closed means that you perform a planned or foreseen action without necessarily adapting to changing circumstances while you do that. The downside of this, of course, is, well, that you don't adapt to changing circumstances, but the benefit is that you actually get to perform the action faster because you eliminate the need for decision making. So to see how this applies to Absetzen, let's go look at a couple of exercises that you can use to build a class around. We begin without messers, with a fun little game. As a student, it is your job to walk forward to try and touch the coach on the chest, or the shoulders if they're more comfortable with that. The coach can do one of two things, which they have decided on before the student approaches them. 1. As soon as they see the student's arm extending to touch them, they can start moving back in order to not get hit. Or 2. Try to touch the student before they start their own attack. The student can of course try to then parry and repulse the coach's attack in that case. Play around with that a little bit, and perhaps a few interesting tactics will come up. For now, let's just put a pin in it and pick up the messers. As I have mentioned in the past, Absetzen and Ansetzen are indeed as similar as the names seem to imply. The only big difference is in the launch order. With Ansetzen, against an opponent that does not attack you at that time, you thrust first and then close the line to prevent afterblows. Absetzen has a reverse launch order, so first you close the line to deal with an incoming attack, and then extend the arm to press home the thrust that at that point may or may not already have connected. Once you have practiced this launch order a bit, let's do a choice drill. Remember that game that we did before? Well, you may have found that it works really well if the student just prepares to parry, just in case, and then walks forward until they're so close to the coach that just extending the arm will land a hit. You can do the same with a messer in your hand. I like to call this the charging boar, after the position called Aber. Simply walk forward in Aber, having an Absetzen already chambered. If the coach attacks you while you're entering distance, so they push your launch button, you have it already prepared and you can do the technique with eyes closed. If they hesitate, after all, seeing a boar charging towards you gives most sane people pause, then you have time to consciously change the plan and do Ansetzen instead. Both actions are done with eyes closed technically, but because you approach with Absetzen loaded, you use distance to buy the time to make the decision to instead do Ansetzen, if it comes to that. To round out this training, you can try to speed up the approach of your charging boar, meaning that you really get to focus on driving into close distance while having your Absetzen prepared. Run through this a couple of times and then perhaps you can move on to a sparring game which involves trying to only land thrusts, which tend to bring out these actions, especially after you just train them quite a bit. So have fun, see how that goes. Let me know if you have any questions, and until the next one. Cheers.